It began on a gray Thursday morning, the kind that smelled of rain and secrets. I was sitting in my car outside the coffee shop where my husband, Ethan, was supposed to meet a client. I hadn't meant to follow him, but something inside me, that quiet, gnawing whisper of doubt, wouldn't let me rest. For weeks, his behavior had been off. His phone was always face down, late-night messages vanished, and he'd started wearing cologne he hadn't touched in years. I told myself I just wanted peace of mind. So I waited. When he finally arrived, he looked different. Not in clothes or posture, those were the same, but in the way he moved. His shoulders were stiffer, his smile a little too measured, and when the barista called him Mr. Cole, he didn't correct her. My husband's last name wasn't Cole, it was Evans. I frowned, watching as he ordered his drink and sat by the window, scrolling casually on his phone. Everything about him screamed Ethan, yet something felt fundamentally wrong. Maybe it was paranoia, maybe I'd gone too far. But then, as I reached for my phone to snap a photo, he stood up abruptly, looked directly toward my car, and smirked. The chill that ran down my spine wasn't from embarrassment. It was instinct, a primal, icy dread. Because in that fleeting second, I realized that the man staring at me wasn't my husband. He was identical. Same hair, same build, even the scar near his jawline. But the eyes, they didn't belong to Ethan. My husband's eyes held warmth, mischief even. These were cold, predatory. And when he walked away, disappearing into the crowd, I sat frozen behind the wheel, my breath fogging the glass. I rushed home to find Ethan already there, sitting at the dining table, reading the newspaper like nothing had happened. His hair was slightly damp from the shower. He looked up and smiled. "You're home early," he said, as if everything was perfectly normal. I stared at him for a long moment, my heart hammering. "Did you go to the cafe this morning?" He glanced up. "What cafe?" His confusion seemed genuine, almost disarming, but I couldn't shake the image of that smirk. "Never mind," I said quickly, forcing a smile. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind played the scene again and again, the same face, the same voice, but someone else entirely. I needed answers. The next morning, while Ethan was in the shower, I went through his wallet. Receipts, cards, everything looked normal, until I found a folded photo tucked behind his driving license. It was old, faded, showing two boys around 10 years old, standing side by side. Identical twins. On the back, written in faint ink, Ethan and Aaron, 1992. My breath caught. Twins? He'd never mentioned a brother, not once in our 6 years of marriage. I slid the photo back carefully and forced myself to act normal as he came out of the bathroom. "You're up early," he said, toweling his hair. "Something wrong?" "No," I lied, forcing my voice to sound steady. "Just couldn't sleep." But from that moment, I couldn't stop watching him. Every smile, every touch, every movement. I studied it, wondering if it was him or the man from the cafe. That evening, while he was on a call, I overheard him say, "I told you, we'll handle it this weekend. No more delays." His tone was sharp, commanding, not the gentle, hesitant man I married. When he noticed me standing there, he ended the call abruptly and smiled. "Just work stuff," he said. That night, I pretended to be asleep when he left the bed at midnight. I waited 5 minutes, then followed. Through the crack of the door, I saw him standing in the living room, speaking softly into his phone. "She suspects something," he said. "We might need to move faster." My body turned to ice. She? Was that me? I backed away, barely breathing, and crawled into bed before he returned. When he slipped beside me, his arm wrapping around my waist, it took everything in me not to flinch. The next morning, I decided to find Aaron. I called an old friend of Ethan's from university, someone who owed me a favor. "Did Ethan ever have a brother?" I asked casually. There was a long pause. Then, "Yeah, but I thought he died years ago, drowned in some lake accident when they were kids." "Why?" I hung up without answering. My hands trembled as I pieced it together. The identical man at the cafe, the photograph, the secrecy. If Aaron was alive, why was he pretending to be Ethan? Or worse, what if Ethan was the one who died? That night I confronted him, or tried to. "Ethan," I said, standing at the doorway, my heart pounding. "Do you have a brother?" His expression froze for a second too long before he smiled. "Where did that come from?" "I just found an old photo. You never mentioned him." He shrugged. "He died when we were kids. I don't like talking about it." His tone was calm, but his eyes, they flickered, just briefly, with something dark. Fear? Anger? Guilt? I couldn't tell. Later, after he fell asleep, I quietly unlocked his phone. No messages, no photos. Everything was clean. Too clean. But then, in his notes app, I found a single entry titled, "The Plan." I opened it, my blood running cold as I read the first line. Phase 1. Assume Ethan's identity. I dropped the phone, the sound echoing through the silent room. My hands shook violently as I stared at the man lying beside me, the man who might not be my husband at all. I didn't sleep a second that night. I lay there, listening to his breathing, wondering whose lungs were filling the air beside me, my husband's or his brother's. Every small sound, a creak of the floorboard, the rustle of his sheets, made my pulse spike. The note I had read on his phone kept replaying in my mind like a curse. Phase 1. Assume Ethan's identity. When dawn broke, the first light spilled across the room, painting his face in a soft gold. I studied it closely. The familiar jawline, the faint scar above his brow, the mole near his ear. Everything was Ethan. Yet something was missing. That warmth I used to see in his eyes had been replaced by a distant, calculating coldness. I slipped out of bed quietly and went into the kitchen. My hands trembled as I poured coffee, trying to think clearly. How could a man fake being someone's husband so perfectly? Unless he'd been planning it for years. When he entered the kitchen moments later, his tone was sweet, casual, almost too perfect. "Morning, darling," he said, placing a soft kiss on my temple. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep," I murmured. "I had strange dreams." He chuckled. "That's what you get for watching those crime documentaries before bed." He didn't know how right he was. The rest of the day, I tried to behave normally, but my mind wouldn't stop racing. I needed proof, something undeniable. So when he left for work, I began searching the house. Every drawer, every hidden space, behind the bookshelf, in his office, under the bed. Nothing. Then I remembered something he always carried. His briefcase. It sat in the corner, locked. He'd never locked it before. My heart thudded as I fetched a hairpin from the bathroom and knelt by it. My hands shook as I fiddled with the latch until it finally clicked open. Inside, I found the usual: documents, a pen, a tablet. But tucked beneath the folders was a small black envelope. My name was written across it in his handwriting. My breath caught as I opened it. Inside was a photograph of me, standing at the grocery store, unaware, taken from a distance. Another one of me walking into the house. Then a third, me sleeping. Beneath the photos was a small note that said, Phase 2, eliminate her when the deal is complete. The world tilted. I clutched the counter to stay upright as nausea surged through me. Eliminate her. It wasn't just deception anymore. It was murder. My first instinct was to run. But where? If he truly wasn't Ethan, The police would never believe me without evidence. I needed to be smart, careful. When he returned home that evening, I acted as if nothing had changed. I smiled, cooked dinner, even laughed at his small jokes. Inside, I was screaming. Every move he made, I studied him like prey, studying a predator. After dinner, he poured wine for both of us. I watched closely, half expecting him to poison me. But he drank his glass too, watching me with a strange satisfaction. "You've been quiet today," he said, leaning back. "Just tired," I murmured. "You know, I've been thinking we should take a weekend trip," he said casually. "Somewhere quiet, just you and me." My stomach clenched. A trip, secluded, isolated. It sounded like a perfect setup for phase 2. "That sounds nice," I lied. He smiled, that same chillingly perfect smile that now made my skin crawl. When he went to bed, I snuck into the study again and turned on his laptop. It was password protected, but I had seen him type it once. 10:25 his mother's birthday. The screen unlocked with a soft chime. There were folders, mostly work files, but one was named Project Mirror. I opened it. My hands froze as images loaded on the screen. Surveillance photos, copies of IDs, even a scanned copy of Ethan Evans' death certificate. The date on it was 7 months ago. Cause of death, accidental drowning. My legs gave out. I fell to my knees, staring at the document, my breath shallow. Ethan, my husband, was dead. The man sleeping in my bed wasn't him. It was Aaron, his twin, and he had killed him. Tears blurred my vision, but I forced myself to keep reading. The files mentioned coded words. Phase 1, identity established. Phase 2, eliminate spouse. Another file contained property transfer papers with my signature forged, transferring all of Ethan's assets to Aaron Cole. I could barely breathe. Everything I had, my home, savings, life, was about to be stolen. And I was next on his list. The floorboard creaked behind me. I spun around. He stood there, Aaron, his face calm, but his eyes blazing. "Couldn't sleep either?" he asked softly. I swallowed hard, trying to hide the screen behind me. "Just looking for something." He stepped closer, slow and deliberate. "You shouldn't be in here." My heart pounded. "I was just..." He interrupted, his voice dropping to a whisper. "You've been snooping, haven't you?" The air went still. My throat dried up. "I don't know what you're talking about," I managed. He smiled faintly, the kind of smile that makes your blood run cold. "It's okay. Curiosity runs in the family." He brushed past me, turned off the laptop, and gently placed a hand on my shoulder. "Go to bed, Emily. It's late." His tone was calm, too calm. But there was an edge beneath it, a warning. I nodded, forcing myself to walk past him even though my knees were trembling. I could feel his gaze burning into my back until I reached the bedroom. I locked the door quietly and pressed my ear against it, listening for movement. After a few moments, I heard the faint click of the study door closing. I ran to the window, opened it, and took a shaky breath of cold night air. I had to get out, but not yet. I needed proof strong enough to put him away forever. As I sat there, trembling, I thought of one thing: the real Ethan. His grave. If I could find where he was buried, maybe I could uncover how this all began. Maybe even find what Aaron was hiding. Outside, thunder rolled in the distance. Inside, my world had already collapsed. I looked at the wedding photo on the bedside table. The man smiling beside me wasn't my husband. He was my husband's killer. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Every night since that dinner, I had replayed the stranger's face in my mind. The man who looked like my husband, yet wasn't him. I'd spent hours scrolling through social media, old archives, anything that could explain it. But the more I searched, the less sense it made. One night, as I walked into the kitchen to get some water, I noticed Daniel's phone buzzing on the counter. Normally, I respected his privacy, but something inside me urged otherwise. The screen lit up with a name I didn't recognize. Marcus. The message read, "We need to talk. She's asking too many questions." My stomach dropped. My name wasn't mentioned, but I didn't need it to be. I waited until Daniel went to bed before sneaking into the living room, heart pounding so hard I could hear it echo. I opened his phone again, scrolling through the thread with shaking hands. There were photos, some of me, taken from outside the house. In one, I was standing by the window, in another, asleep on the couch. The captions underneath were chillingly simple. "Keep her quiet." I wanted to scream but couldn't make a sound. My entire body went cold. Who was Marcus? Why was Daniel working with him? The next morning, Daniel acted normal. Too normal. He kissed my cheek, brewed his coffee, even hummed while packing his briefcase. "Big meeting today?" I asked, testing the waters. "You could say that," he replied without looking up. I smiled faintly, pretending not to notice how tightly he clutched his phone. The moment he left, I locked the door, grabbed my keys, and followed him in my car from a distance. He drove for nearly an hour out of town, finally pulling into a rundown warehouse near the river. I parked behind a row of trees and waited. Then I saw him step out, and another man walked toward him. My heart nearly stopped. The second man was him. Daniel's face, same eyes, same hair, same everything. They shook hands like old friends. I couldn't breathe. I fumbled for my phone, snapping photos through the windshield. My fingers were trembling so badly the images came out blurry, but I didn't care. I watched them talk, occasionally glancing around as if afraid to be seen. After about 15 minutes, Daniel handed the other man a brown envelope. The stranger opened it, nodded, and then, for a brief second, looked directly toward me. Our eyes met across the distance. It felt like time froze. He smirked, a slow, knowing smile that chilled my soul. I ducked under the dashboard, heart pounding, waiting what felt like an eternity before daring to peek again. They were gone. I sat there, trying to make sense of what I'd just seen. Daniel had a twin brother. That much was clear now. But why had he hidden it? And what were they planning together? By the time I drove home, I was shaking so badly I could barely keep the wheel straight. I knew confronting Daniel directly was too dangerous. Not yet. I needed proof. Real proof. That night, when he came home, I pretended to be asleep. He slipped quietly into bed, but I could feel his heartbeat hammering through his chest. I knew then that he was scared too, just not of what I thought. Somewhere in that darkness between us, two secrets were breathing. Mine, that I knew about his twin, and his, that whatever he and Marcus were hiding was much darker than I could imagine. As I stared at the ceiling, I realized I was already part of something deadly. I wasn't sure yet who to fear more, my husband or the man who shared his face. Sleep had become a stranger. I lay awake most nights, staring at the shadows stretching across the ceiling, wondering which version of my husband was lying beside me. Every time Daniel closed his eyes, I studied his face, every line, every breath, terrified I might wake up next to the other one instead. The memory of that smirk outside the warehouse haunted me. It wasn't just resemblance, it was malice wrapped in the same skin. I started keeping a knife in my nightstand. It made me feel safer, though deep down I knew safety was already an illusion. A few days later, I received an envelope slipped under our front door. There was no name, no return address, just a single photograph inside. Me, standing outside the supermarket, taken from a distance. On the back, in neat handwriting, were the words, "Stop looking." My hands trembled as I held it. The message was clear, but it only ignited my resolve. I wasn't going to stop until I knew the truth. That evening, when Daniel announced he had to work late again, I smiled as if everything was normal. But the moment he left, I packed my bag, a camera, flashlight, and the small voice recorder I used for my old journalism work. I drove back to the warehouse, this time parking even farther away. The place was silent except for the wind scraping through broken windows. I crept closer, my heart thudding in my throat, and pressed my ear against the side door. Voices. 2 of them. Daniel and Marcus. I turned on the recorder and listened. Daniel's voice sounded tense. "It's getting harder to keep her in the dark," he said. Marcus laughed, a cruel, hollow sound. "Then we move up the timeline. She's already seen too much." I felt my blood run cold. Move up the timeline? What did that mean? I leaned closer, trying to hear more, but the metal door creaked under my weight. Silence followed. My breath caught. Then Daniel's voice, sharper now. "Did you hear that?" I bolted. My shoes barely touched the ground as I ran back to the car. Behind me, a door slammed open and someone shouted. I jumped in, started the engine, and sped off, headlights off until I was miles away. When I finally pulled over on a deserted road, I couldn't stop shaking. I replayed the recording, but it was too muffled to catch every word. Still, the intent was unmistakable. They were planning something involving me. When I reached home, I noticed Daniel's car already in the driveway. He wasn't supposed to be back yet. My first instinct was to drive past, but I forced myself to breathe and act normal. Inside, he was sitting on the couch, his phone in hand, expression unreadable. "You're late," he said quietly. I shrugged, forcing a calm I didn't feel. "Just needed some air." His eyes searched mine, as if trying to peel away layers of truth. Then he smiled, a soft, disarming curve of the lips that made my skin crawl. "You've been distant lately," he said, standing up. "Is everything okay?" I nodded, clutching my bag tighter. "Just tired." He took a step closer. "You know I'd do anything for you, right?" His tone was gentle, but his gaze was sharp, the kind that pinned you in place. For a brief moment, I wondered if it was really Daniel standing in front of me. What if Marcus had taken his place already? I wanted to scream, to demand proof of who he was. But instead, I forced a smile and whispered, "I know." That night, as I lay awake listening to his steady breathing beside me, I realized the truth was closing in. Whatever secret tied the 2 men together had already caught me in its web, and the only way out might be through the very darkness that terrified me. I turned to look at him once more, his face half lit by moonlight, and silently made a promise. "Tomorrow, I'll find out who you really are." Morning arrived like a slow suffocation. Every sound in the house, the coffee maker, the floor creaks, the kettle's whistle, felt amplified, unnatural. Daniel sat at the table, scrolling through his phone, pretending that everything was fine. I knew it wasn't. The knife I had hidden beneath the kitchen drawer felt heavier than ever, not because of its weight, but because of the truth it might soon reveal. I had spent the entire night listening to the recorded conversation again and again, isolating words, slowing down the playback. Between the static and muffled echoes, one phrase finally emerged clear. "She'll be gone before Sunday." My blood had turned to ice. Whoever Daniel and Marcus really were, I had just been marked as the next victim. When Daniel left for work, I followed him again. This time not to the warehouse, but to a small house at the edge of the industrial district. The curtains were drawn, but a woman answered the door holding a young boy, the same boy I'd seen at the park. My pulse throbbed painfully in my ears. I watched from the car as Daniel bent down, ruffled the child's hair, and kissed the woman before stepping inside. My entire world tilted. There was no denying it anymore. My husband had a secret life, another family. But I also knew there was more. The tension, the threats, the mention of moving the timeline. This wasn't just about infidelity. It was something far darker. I waited until he left and then approached the house. The woman was startled when I introduced myself. "You must be Evelyn," she whispered nervously. "He said you'd never come." Her voice trembled, and that single line shattered every remaining illusion I had. Inside the house, the boy played quietly on the floor, unaware of the storm between us. "Who are you to him?" I asked. She hesitated, eyes darting to the window. "His brother," she finally said. "Marcus." The room spun. "You mean Daniel?" I said, shaking my head, but she didn't respond. Instead, she reached into a drawer and pulled out a photograph. Two identical men standing side by side, both smiling. "Marcus told me he had a twin who stole his life," she whispered. "His name, his wife, everything. He said Daniel framed him for something years ago, and he's been planning to take it all back." My knees buckled. I sat down hard, the pieces finally snapping into place. Daniel hadn't been working late. He'd been watching Marcus, trying to keep him under control. But Marcus had crossed a line, using his own child, his own family, to bait the trap. And I had walked right into it. The front door suddenly burst open. Daniel stood there, his face pale with fury and fear. "Evelyn, step away from her," he ordered. His gaze flicked to the woman. "Where is he?" She started crying. "He said you'd come, and he'd finish it himself." Before I could speak, a gunshot shattered the silence. The window exploded. Daniel tackled me to the floor, glass raining down like shards of light. Another shot followed, hitting the wall behind us. Through the chaos, I saw him, Marcus, standing outside, his expression twisted in rage, identical to my husband's but colder, emptier. Daniel grabbed the gun from his coat and shouted, "Run!" But I didn't move. I saw it in his eyes, the dread, the guilt, the love. He wasn't the villain in my story after all. He was the victim. They struggled near the doorway, two mirror images locked in a brutal fight. It was impossible to tell who was who. Then, a shot rang out, one final echo that silenced everything. When the police arrived, they found me kneeling beside one of them. The other lay lifeless near the window. "Which one?" an officer asked quietly. My throat ached as I whispered, "My husband." Weeks later, I sat alone in the house, the silence heavier than ever. DNA confirmed what I already knew. Daniel was gone. Marcus had survived, claiming to be the real Daniel, though the truth was so tangled even the detectives couldn't tell. But deep down, I could. I saw it in his eyes when he came to see me once more. The same coldness that had haunted my dreams. As I closed the door on him forever, I realized the most terrifying truth of all. When two faces share one soul of darkness, sometimes the real killer isn't the one holding the gun. It is the one who hides behind love. And to those watching, if you've stayed till the end, don't forget to subscribe to Crimson S Labyrinth and leave a comment below telling us where you were watching from. Your voice helps us uncover just how far these stories reach.